All right, guys, so yesterday I made a video talking about how I was going to go on a survival trip to test out my survival kit. Now, as you'll see behind me, there's a sea can here. About 10 kilometers past this is actually all just my own family's private property, but for 185 kilometers after that, it's just straight bush. Kind of tees over and heads up to the north, and it's 185 kilometers or 114 miles of just uninterrupted woods, and we're going to go get into a little bit of that today. Now, as far as gear goes, I do have more on me than just that pot, but let me explain it, it'll make a little bit more sense to you. So, starting off with the backpack, you'll notice on the outside of my bag on both sides, I have these. These are lights. If you guys want to see what I'm doing at night, I kind of need those just for filming, and those are on both sides. On the top part of my bag here, I got extra batteries, because believe it or not, burning through 4K footage takes up batteries, so I got those, and some cables so I can charge everything kind of all at once, and then that's really all that's in that top compartment. Inside the bag, I do have a first aid kit. I'm not prone to an accident. You know, this is actually a training trip for me, so there we go. As far as gear, we do have the survival kit. And if everything goes to shit and I'm back in there, I do actually have a sleeping bag in here that I'm going to try not to use, but I feel like if I show you guys that I actually have it, you'll trust me when I say that I didn't use it or that I did. And if you look, that's... Oh. Well, all my lights fell out, but as you see, nothing else actually fell out. And in this bag, you got to remember, it's not just me that's come out here to survive tonight. It is me and my dogs. So, I got dog food. I don't want to show you too much on this, but that's supper tonight. Dogs love cheese, some seasoning, and the rest of that's just kind of adult beverage, in case, you know, the mood strikes and we get a little thirsty. You'll also notice that in the back of this side-by-side, I have recovery options like a tire pump, extra gas, a shovel. There's even an old sleeping pad in here that I wouldn't use in the winter, but the reason why I bring this up is I want to be absolutely transparent of all the things I do have. I am going to do my best on this trip to sleep without a sleeping bag, to sleep with just what we can actually get going in the outdoors. But I'm also a realist that if, you know, an emergency happens and I am that far back in the country, I need to be able to like actually sustain myself without having to work like crazy, you know what I mean? So that's just a little bit of honesty from me to you. Now, let's just get into this trip. And I forgot to mention that in my pockets, I have a toque and a buff and a set of gloves. And other than that, and I almost forgot the biggest one of all. What I did choose to bring that is kind of breaking the rules, I'll admit, but you know, man, I am just out here trying to have a little bit of fun, is a knife. I just didn't, it just went against my better judgment to come out here without a knife. And even Morris Kohansky in his pot, which was taller than mine, brought a knife. So yeah, anyways, I did bring a knife. Just so we're all very clear, that's everything I have on me. Oh, and silly me, forgot to mention, I also have a shotgun just in case. We got to get going because I actually started this a little later than I would have liked to. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And if we don't have a spot figured out by, let's say, 2 or 3, it's going to be a late night and a lot of night filming. And I don't really want to do that. So let's get into it. As I'm driving through, one thing I'm noticing is all the dead wood that's fallen over in here. We actually recently had a windstorm. So if you look, even looking up here, there's a lot of snapped off pieces. I don't even know. Is this a spot that we should stay the night? I'm not too sure. I really was hoping to find some cattails because I have a pretty good idea with those. But it's not looking like there's a whole lot of heads around here. I don't know. Cattails are an integral part of my plan for tonight. But also with all this wood that's just been pushed over, this is going to be hard to turn down, honestly. You know, the amount of time and effort I can save by just gathering wood that's pushed over. Like, look at this. Oh, sunk through the snow. But look at this even. Like this guy right here. I'll zoom in on that. That's completely dead and was just recently bent over in the windstorm. Like, or this guy here, this tamarack. You know, the truth of the matter is things don't always go to plan. I'm not too sure what to do here. Maybe I'll go a little further ahead and see, but the amount of dead wood that's just laying here, like, I would almost have to be an idiot to turn this down. Like, it's just everywhere. All right, well, let me get back at it and let's figure this out. Man, I went out and just did like a little bit of a walk here, and it's looking like we are about to strip some layers down because I'm already getting sweaty. Also, because I know I'm going to be out here without a sleeping bag tonight, I did layer up a little bit. Is it cheating? Is it not? I don't know. But hold up, I'm going to get these layers off. You know, it's funny, I maybe made it like a kilometer and a bit down this line. This spot, while not the most gorgeous spot, is offering like 80% of the resources I need. My general plan for tonight is I was going to use cattails as an insulator, and if I could find them, I think I'm going to still do that. But you know, it's late in the day. I have so much wood resources here that it's too silly to pass this up. You know, I could spend more time making a better shelter and a bed and collecting a bunch of spruce boughs. I might have to forego the cattails. I mean, there are like, if you look here, I'll show you. There are these leaves here, which these are actually cattail leaves. And I'll show you something kind of cool on these. Let's just go to one that's easier to film now. Now, a lot of people do know that spruce boughs are an absolutely excellent insulator. But fun fact, if you look at these guys here, and you peel this down, inside there, you see that? See if we get the camera to focus on that. It has like a honeycomb pattern inside. And that honeycomb pattern, there you go, you can see it good. That honeycomb pattern actually traps little pockets of air. So this is also a good insulator. But I wanted to get the more, you know, down style cattail, the heads. But we can also make use of that if we have to tonight. So yeah, I've made up my mind. I am going to stay here, and here's why. So these are all old logging cut lines that were cut in here in, I think, like the 30s. As you can see, some of them are starting to overgrow a little bit. We do maintain a bit. That right there is an old hunting blind that I don't think we're going to spend the night in tonight. But the main reason why I'm going to stay here is, if you look, to go off trail any, it's just the densest bush you've ever seen. You know, it's like 1970s all over again. Hey, but I think we'll just post up somewhere in here, and we're just going to call that an unfortunate but super fortunate location due to all the wood that's around this location. Actually, the more I look around, as far as sitting next to the trees, there's all this Uzney, or old man's beard, around here. So I think actually I'll set my actual camp up right in here somewhere. That way, you know, the sparks that come up off the fire aren't actually going to drift over and maybe cause a potential forest fire. But yeah, I think probably right in here. As weird of a spot as that is, I think that's where we're going. So in the interest of actually making this a standalone video, I'm going to show you what I'm actually going to have tonight for my survival kit. This is really all I'm going to try and use. So this is based off the Morse Kohansky survival kit. Morse Kohansky's a prolific bushcrafter. And inside here, we have some paracord and some of these guy lines I got from Bare Essentials. I'm not too sure how long these are. We'll figure that out in a second. The actual main pot and what this is built over itself is the Uberleben Kessel pot. This thing's awesome. Lightweight titanium pot. Comes with this little wax canvas bag. And in the bottom, I spent like an hour trying to origami fit about 15 feet of poly inside, which is going to be part of our shelter. Now, inside this pot, when we open it up, we'll see first thing we got here is one of these SOL emergency bivvies. The headlamp that I ended up running on this was the Black Diamond Storm R, which I just realized I do have to actually charge this guy up. So good thing we're doing this video again. Also, sorry if the audio is a little bit weird right now. It's a little bit windy outside and I'm charging my mics. Shows you how prepared I am. What we have here is an emergency blanket. This is a Blackbeard fire plug. There's a couple of those in there. We got this guy right here, which is a like pocket chainsaw. I'm super skeptical if this is actually going to work. I mean, it is all kind of metal and nylon, but I don't know. I've heard some of these are good, some of these aren't. I'm gambling today on this one, which isn't smart. For my ferro rod, I got the Uberleben Zunda, and I also have the Leatherman Arc as far as my, main tool and striker goes. And as you can see, this is pretty legit. Probably shouldn't have just did that on my emergency blanket, but whatever. We're out here to living and trying. I got a thing of coffee for the morning. A couple more of those Blackbeard fire plugs because waking up in the middle of the night to restart the fire tonight is going to suck. And on the note of that, I actually have a couple of these, which are Go Fire fire starters. You just light the corner of the bag and it just goes up. And like I said, a bunch of origami poly inside this container. Like I touched on before, I do have some emergency supplies, but we're going to try not to get into that at all. But we'll see how it goes because this is an unproven kit. I've never taken this out before. I have used the super shelter and slept the night before. I have used all similar gear, so it shouldn't be too bad. But, guys, let's just play it by ear. I think we're going to do 2 tripods, and the distance of the tripod will be determined by the actual overall length of my emergency blanket, which I think on the package said it was 96 inches. So, Leatherman and pocket saw going into the pocket, and we're going to go try and get some green saplings here, or some green poles, so that we don't actually start a fire on our actual shelter. These birch saplings here are the only things I could find in this area that are any straight, so let's try out that pocket chainsaw and see how it goes. Now, contrary to popular belief, when we're talking about conservation, we're not talking about individual trees. We're talking about the overall population of trees in an area. So if you do end up taking down, a couple of little birch trees, it's not the end of the world if you're in a thriving population of birch, which we clearly are. But let's give this guy a go. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Gonna try to go low down so I have the most material as I can to work with. And let's give her. Oh, that's kind of hard to get started. Oh, she's jammed. But I think I could. For fuck's sakes. Yeah, I don't love this thing. But alright, here's one. This, by the way, this is still private land, just so we're very clear. I wouldn't do this on government property. I just gotta say it, these reef knives are absolutely incredible. I don't know. Maybe it's a skill thing, maybe it's a time thing, I don't know. But if I didn't have this knife right now, this would be an absolute nightmare. We would have had to change the complete plan, you know what I mean? Like, we would have went from, pretty much deciding our spot to, I don't even know how you would have done it, like string it up to a tree, but like we could have strung a ridge line for our super shelter from tree to tree to tree, but then we're actually in a situation where we could have actually posed a fire risk to the forest here. Even though it is winter, I get it, but with all that dead, dry stuff everywhere, I don't know. Not something I personally wanted to risk. All right, so we got our main poles out for our shelter, and it is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm breaking the #1 rule right now by sweating. But getting this through the snowpack, this doesn't look super deep, but this is probably about 2 feet of snow roughly, and I'm sinking through all the time. I'm not gonna lie, these snow pants kind of suck. I've lost a little bit of weight since I wore them last, because I normally wear the bibs, but man, these just keep falling down. Whew, hard work. I'm just gonna kind of organize these by length overall and see kind of how we're looking. I'm gonna butt up all the ends here, and then I can from there kind of assign them to their respective tripod. Let's see how long these actual little guidelines from Bare Essentials actually are. So a good rule of thumb is if you know how tall you are, that's roughly, give or take some inches off your wingspan. So yeah, these are a little taller than I am, maybe a few inches taller than I am, so probably about 6 feet a piece maybe. Fun fact, I'm not super tall. So We probably could use these to bind the tripods. My tripod. I want my tripod to be about 4 feet tall, maybe 5 feet tall. And you got to remember that when we spread the legs, it's not straight up and down from the ground. So if you want it to be about 4 or 5 feet tall, go a couple extra inches. So I'm going to go about 6 feet on my cuts. And from there, I'm just going to mark that roughly. This will be my main measuring stick. So just make a little mark there. And I'm going to cut, if we have 6 poles overall, I'm going to cut 4 of them to this length. And I'll kind of show you how this shelter goes together. All right, this probably isn't the best camera angle, but if you look, this one on the outside is a good 2 feet longer, and there is a reason for that. We don't have enough cordage today to do like an actual traditional lash. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull these guys up to where you can see it hopefully here, and we're gonna take the cordage and we're gonna go right hand to left hand, right hand to left hand, second loop in front of the first loop, and we're gonna go over the whole thing. And that is a clove hitch. We're gonna try and lay these out kind of flat and pop that on there. And I'm gonna tie a safety here, and maybe I'll bring you in a little tighter for this. So the knot that we tied is a clove hitch, and I'm gonna take what's left of this tail and I'm gonna tie a safety, and that just stops the clove hitch from spreading. Because a lot of people think that a clove hitch is a self-tightening knot, but it just, there's no such real thing other than the constrictor knot than a self-tightening knot. So then we're gonna take our tail and we're gonna go through this crack here and around once, or twice I guess, but one full rotation, because that's a half rotation around that. And this is our next rotation. So that's one full pass around going through that crack there. Then we're gonna do the same on this side. And what this does is it binds up in between those little gaps there, and it actually allows us to get a little tighter. Take our Leatherman and wrap that and pull tight. Now, I don't know what the breaking strength of these guy lines is. I wouldn't imagine it's much. But the thing is that what we're doing today, we don't really need a super crazy strong tripod anyways, because it's literally just gonna be holding up. It's literally just gonna be holding up a piece of poly and an emergency blanket, so it's not really the end of the world. But I'm just gonna wrap that guy around, pull this guy through, and tie a safety. That's enough that it won't actually come undone, unless this cordage really sucks. And it is a gamble we're doing right now, because I don't know how strong this cordage is. It is just for guy lines. This is our tripod. Let's get it to actually sink into the snow here and get that guy back there. And as you can see, the longer pole is going back. We're gonna have 2 of these side by side, and our bed's actually gonna be in here. But let's see here. Oh, she's sinking in the snow, but she's not gonna break. All right. And this is our next one, which I think will go right here. Tripod system here, tripod system here. Our bed is gonna go right in here, and we're gonna put emergency blanket from that pole to that pole, and maybe a cross brace or 2 in here, and then our poly out in front. And if we have enough, hopefully wrap the sides. But the reason why I chose this location is the wind comes from the north, and we have a pretty good blockage right there. This guy here will be our support pole, which will connect the 2 tripods together. That is not level. Let's see if we can't make that a bit more aesthetically pleasing. All right, so I'm gonna mark this guy out. I'm gonna cut this guy to length. I'm gonna lash him on, and then we'll get the emergency blanket and the shelter on. I just stepped in there and my foot just went into a bunch of slosh. Notice that underneath all this deep snow, well, you can see here that it's pretty wet. I am going to put a bed in here, but I don't know about that. We're just going to have to move the shelter. Now, it's looking like if I just go a little over to the south here, that that should work. It's a little less drainagey down there. Man, you know, it's the honest truth about these situations. Even if you're going out with like all the gear in the world, half the time when you're out really doing stuff, things you don't see happening are gonna happen. This spot looks a little less drainagey. Still not completely ideal. I'll be straight up honest. This is gonna be an uncomfortable sleep. It's 3:30. I haven't gotten any firewood yet. I haven't gotten any spruce boughs yet. Man, I should not have. I was just running late this morning, you know. That's a bummer. This is gonna be a rough night. But, you know, whatever. Dig deep. I'm gonna take the emergency bag or the emergency blanket and just kind of do a dry run here and see how this actually is gonna fit. Ooh, you gotta be really careful though. See how it almost snug up on this corner here, which is sharp, and I'm gonna bend that over. But these things rip super easy, and if this rips, oh man, I am so fucked. All right, so really quick, we're gonna go find a spruce tree, because at the bottom of a spruce tree, there'll be spruce cones. All of these trees here, but don't have the actual needles on them, those are all tamarack. There's a good chance those are actually even alive, but let's go see what we can find here. And wouldn't you have it, at the base, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, grab a handful of these. Believe it or not, these are gonna be our tie-off points. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a couple little spruce cones or whatever, a couple of these little guys here, and we're gonna fold them into that corner. Because these guys don't actually have grommets or tie-off points. They're actually meant to be used actually like as a blanket. And what we're gonna do, you can even use a little clump of snow on this. I just find that, you know, because I have done the super shelter before, if you are running like little clumps of snow or ice, because this shelter does get ridiculously hot, one thing you're gonna find is that that ice is gonna melt, and then you're not really holding on to anything. So just make sure that's the corner, which it is, and I'm gonna tie that guy right here, probably just with another little clove hitch. And this time I'll just tie it around like so. And that's pretty secure. Do another wrap and a frap. And because I'm starting to run out of these little tie-off points, these little guy lines, I'm gonna actually cut this now that that's tied. And we'll use the last 3 feet of this to tie the bottom. And I'm just gonna go around and tie all these corners here. We got a reflective part on, and it doesn't look like much yet, and that's because it isn't. But she's secure. We're gonna get the poly on next. Whew. Okay, getting somewhere. All right, so here's the situation. I am 4 feet on that side right there of poly short of actually finishing this guy. And it's too late in the day, it's 4:16 for me to actually make a wood wall, because I still have to get firewood, I still have to get spruce boughs, I still have to get all these things. So I think I'm gonna go to the car and just grab 4 more feet of poly and just, I know it's cheating, but it is the honest truth. And I'm here to just be honest with you guys about how this is going, and I'm gonna go grab 4 more feet of poly. Gotta drive out to the vehicle. All right, so we went to the vehicle, we got more poly, and now the shelter's done. So if you look here, this is essentially how this guy works. So it's wrapped in poly, and we open this guy up, which I have this kind of open right now. I will tie it up before bed, but there's the reflective layer right there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take a pace forward, and that's actually where we're gonna start our fire, is right here. And what's gonna happen is the heat from the fire is gonna pass through the poly, reflect off of the mylar blanket, down to where we're sleeping. But here's our serious predicament. It's 4:45. Sun goes down in about 1 hour. I have no I have no spruce boughs for my bed yet. I have no firewood, even though firewood's going to be fairly easy to get. And the temperature is starting to dip. What I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to prioritize my bed. Now, here's another thing. Depending on how the spruce boughs go, I might take that sleeping pad that we seen in the car earlier and let the dogs have that. I won't use it. I promise you that. I'm not going to use it. But I might let the dogs, because I might not have time to make them a proper bed as well as myself. And, you know, I do have to be responsible as a dog owner. But if that happens, I will document it and I'll let you know. Because, again, this whole thing is we're not here to lie. Let's head off into the tree line here and just start gathering up spruce boughs. See if we can't get, you know, enough. Which, believe it or not, you don't just put a little bit on the ground. It doesn't really work that way. You actually need quite a bit. We'll get more into that. But for the next little bit here, I'm just going to be taking this guy and hacking at spruce limbs. Now, as I'm actually starting to collect all these spruce boughs, that's my pile right there so far. I'm not just taking these from one tree. Now, there is an argument that maybe you just take down one full tree and take all the boughs from that, and that's less destructive than hurting a bunch of trees. The truth of the matter is taking a couple branches off a tree is not going to kill it. And when we talk about conservation, we're talking about the overall population. And as you can see, spruce, 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 spruce. Like, me taking branches off of multiple of these trees, or even if I was to take down a full tree, isn't going to hurt the overall population in this area. Oh, it's so hard to get all these spruce boughs because someone wants to play. Now, when you make a bed out of spruce boughs, you need to remember that your compressed thickness, so the thickness that it is when you're actually laying on it, is over 6 inches. That gives you enough distance from the ground and enough insulation that you're not just gonna wake up dead. Another thing that you should do, honestly, which I don't think we're gonna have time for tonight, is try and dry them out by the fire, because they do retain some moisture. But I mean, I think I'm just gonna fall asleep in my snowsuit, and that'll keep the moisture off my actual body. I don't think these are actually super wet, to be honest, but most of the time a good rule of thumb is before you make a bed, dry them out. But let's start laying them out. That just isn't quite thick enough yet. We're gonna need probably, oh, I hate to say it because it's getting so late in the day and I still don't have any firewood, but man, it's looking like we're probably gonna have to double this amount. Getting started late on any trip always bites you in the butt. And yet I always seem to find myself starting trips late. Didn't start this trip till like 12 or 1 or something like that. And I knew that I was going to be up all night with a headlamp, just trying to get wood and trying to get spruce boughs. But, all right, well, I guess it's time to quit complaining about it and just get after it. Update. First and foremost, I am running out of time. Secondly, I've given up mostly on the pocket chainsaw and just started using my knife. I know it was cheating to bring this, but this has actually saved my bacon the whole time I've been out here. I was actually able to chop through trees up to about 4 inches thick with this guy. And also when it comes to conservationism, don't worry about me taking out this tree on private land. I could take out probably 150 of these before it actually damaged this ecosystem at all. Before they even felt an effect of it. So it's not that big of a deal. But honestly, I've just, to save time, because I don't even have firewood yet, I started just taking down trees 4 or 5 inches in diameter and just hacking the branches off of them. Because, you know, because like the real truth of the matter is, if I do fall asleep on a bed tonight that's on the snow, there's a chance if it's not done correctly that I could just not wake up. So I am going to go ahead and take as much spruce boughs as I can get. I want at least 6 inches. I'm aiming for about 8 inches in compressed thickness. I'm really surprised at how well this knife is performing. I love Reef knives. I mean, they don't, this isn't a sponsored ad, by the way. Like, they don't give me any money or anything. They will say this, they were one of the very first companies to ever actually send me a piece of gear for free. And they did send me this knife. But I am being honest, like, typically speaking, I don't actually use the F6, which is what this guy is. I normally use the the S5, which is like a Scandi grind, because it's better for actually working. But 90% of what I've had to do today is just hack and slash. It's actually kind of changing my mind a little bit about what I think about saber ground knives. Typically, I'm only a Scandi guy, but this has been pretty good. Don't let Grizzly Creek hear that, though. He might give me some fluff for that. That's about 6 or 7 inches. But the truth of the matter is I'm probably still going to try and get some more. The reason for that being is I'm going to try not to use that sleeping bag tonight, which means I don't have the extra thermal energy to sacrifice to the ground. Like if I was to use my like plus 25 sleeping bag I brought with me, yeah, I mean, I can sleep on this no problem. But I'm going to try not to do that. I mean, I already did kind of break the rules by grabbing that poly and by bringing a knife, which the knife's a little bit debatable because Morris Kahansky brought a knife. But anyways, more spruce boughs, and then it's going to be a late night of just gathering wood. Ugh, before I can even get to cooking. My God, this is taking forever. It's awesome, though. The shelter's complete. The bed is complete. It's pitch black out. Those lights you saw earlier in my bag are the only thing that's allowing you to see me right now. I desperately need to re-waterproof my boots. My feet are pretty wet. That is a bit of a concern. However, though, I always wear boots with removable liners, so when we have a fire, I'm going to be able to dry all that out. I'm actually pretty pooped. You know, the honest truth about going through snow is, let's say it takes you, I don't know, a minute to walk 100 meters. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but let's say it does. To walk that same 100 meters would take you 6 minutes inside of like the winter conditions because you're sinking through. Snow's brutal to walk on. I should have brought snowshoes, but I didn't. And here we are. Kind of wet, kind of tired. You know, it's funny, I do so many short form videos. So like a lot of my time now, because like I've gotten pretty popular on Instagram and stuff, is making short form videos. And I don't get to go out and do as much of this anymore. And man, I think long form video is probably the way I kind of want to go forward with things, just because I actually get to go here and go on trips and have fun. Like, this has been freaking awesome, man. Rather than, like, go to my static camp, set up, have my shot list, and make a bunch of videos about the things I'm going to educate people on. Now, granted, like, there's a lot to be said about making educational content that's an honest truth. Like, none of this, you know, like some of the bushcraft accounts out there that, you know, just dress scantily clad and show you things that don't work. Like, you know, I do focus on being honest, and even today, sharing with you guys some of the failures I've had so far. And I'm a pretty experienced woodsman. Just taking a moment, catching my breath here. The bed's done. You know, we're at, you know, it kind of feels like sleeping on top of a big pile of sticks. You know, it's not going to be super comfy, but you know, this will keep me warm. But like, honestly, like one of the steps that we are skipping tonight, and you know what? It's never good to cut corners. We just ran out of time. Is when you have your spruce boughs, dry them in the fire, or not in the fire, but by the fire. And it'll take some of the moisture that's trapped in these guys, even though they feel pretty dry, there probably is some moisture in here. Anyways, I'm gonna start finally gathering firewood. I think it's like 7 o'clock at night right now, so little unfortunate, but hey guys, we're out here, we're getting after it. All right, this guy right here, this guy that goes like this, we're gonna try and take him down. He's pretty good firewood. That's tamarack right there, which is some of the hottest burning wood we got around here. All right, so pocket chainsaw, this will be the real test. If I start cutting on this side, because this guy's arcing this way, it's actually just gonna bind the saw, right? Because as the weight of the tree comes over, it's going to pinch the blade. So I'm going to have to try and literally get kind of in the line of fire here and then just move at the last second, I guess. But if this even goes through this is This is incredibly hard wood. This is tamarack. All right, here goes nothing. Oh yeah, that sucks. Yeah, this thing sucks. Nope. I hear it starting to pop. Okay, hold up. We're going to double check before I drop this thing where my dogs are. One there, and yeah, we're good. All right, pull this guy out. We should be able to just boom, got her. This thing sucks. I'm not taking these things out anymore. All right. Okay. A lot of firewood you can get around here just by pushing over. Let me see how much of that I can get, but oh man, that was too much work. It's still not even completely off yet. Yeah, the knife isn't even doing it. This is whew. Man, I am looking forward to that steak. This is a lot of work. This is a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely should have started a little earlier. I'm pretty tired, and finding firewood that's completely dead in the dark isn't the easiest thing to do. And the reason is that the tamarack that grows around here actually loses its needles in the wintertime, so it looks dead, but it's not. I'll take you for a little walk and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this guy right here, for example, looks like she's leaning over. There's no needles on it whatsoever. But if we come up, we can actually see that there's no discoloration on this bark. It's just straight up, and none of the branches at the very end are falling off. So this tree's actually, even though it's bent over and completely looks dead, this guy's actually still alive. And in the springtime, it's gonna get all its needles back. Things like that actually make it a little harder to do this right now. But whatever. You know what? It's only, I think it's 8 o'clock at night right now. I do have a fair amount of wood. I got about 4 hours worth of wood, but I want to get up to about 11 hours worth of wood. So, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and pretend that I'm halfway there, even though I'm not. And we're going to keep going. I might start the fire sooner than later, though. 1, for ambient light. 2, I have heard a bunch of coyotes, and I'm not worried about those hurting me because of coyotes, whatever. But I do have 2 dogs here that I don't want to have a fight with the dogs and the coyotes right now. And also, I'm not going to lie, my boots, I need to retire these or re-waterproof them because my feet are soaked. Without further ado, let's get the fire going. Today, we're going to use one of these Blackbeard fire plugs and see how well that does. The way these things work is we take one of these plugs and we just kind of twist it up, and you'll see that it starts to kind of unravel a little bit and kind of fluffs up a little. And we're going to take one of these, place them right there, grab our ferro rod, give it a shoot. Oh, it's actually going. Let that catch for a second. Throw those on top. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's an awful lot of coyotes. And I got a couple little pups here. Like I said, I'm not really ever worried about myself, but I am always worried about my dogs because especially animals like coyotes or wolves. If they smell another dog in their area, they will hunt it down and try and kill it. So, hence why we have a shotgun. Rather than worrying about sawing these guys to length, I think I'm just going to let the fire kind of work for me. I'll show you here. This is my fire, obviously, and these longer poles, excuse the tripod and the lights, but these longer poles, because I want to do a tri-log fire later, I'm actually just going to let the fire burn right through those, and I'll be able to, rather than sit there and try and use that freaking pocket chainsaw. Oh, look at that. A backwoods treasure. Now, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with an old bucket, but I have pretty high hopes that it might be a chair. La 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 la. Oh, man. Pretty happy I found this bucket. Could really use a sit right now. It's about 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm not too sure. I'm going to have an adult beverage. I'm going to have a apple juice. But I'll say this. I really should have started earlier today. I knew that. I've mentioned that a couple of times now. Like, it's just really should have started earlier. Now, granted, though, I mean, so far we got enough wood that I wouldn't make it through the night, so I'm going to have to go get some more. But I got enough wood for a couple hours. Right now, I'm actually using the fire rather than that pocket chainsaw. My God, man, I think that there actually is a hell that exists. And in that hell, what it is actually you're trying to heat your home, but all you have to do is chop down wood with a pocket chainsaw. Like, those things are awful. Granted, a lot more durable than like the wire ones, but because like it does do the job. But like an Agawa Boreal 21 or like the Sulic 46 version of the Silky Saws, much better option for something like this. Much better option for something like this. So yeah, right now I'm literally the only reason I'm even chopping the wood or trying to use the fire to like cut the wood is before I go to bed, I want to make like a long fire so that it warms up my shelter, and it's the longest burning, one of the longest burning fires you can actually make. So, but yeah, right now, man, I'm just kind of chilling for a minute. I am gonna have to get my boots taken care of here soon, but I don't really want to start drying my boots out just yet, because like I know I'm just gonna be back out there trudging through water. And these are waterproof boots, but the thing about waterproof boots that no one tells you is you gotta re-waterproof them, and I am a lazy person. But yeah, you can see like I'm just soaked. It's all right. Before we actually go to bed, we'll dry out a little. If you made it this far in the video, feel free to comment down below what you would have changed about this setup, what you would have done differently. I'm open to opinions, man. Like, you know, I'm trying to be super honest here. Let's be honest, like, when it came to going and grabbing more poly, I could have just went and did it and not told anybody. Tonight, when I go to bed, I could sleep in my actual sleeping bag and you would never know, but I'm not gonna do those things, you know what I mean? I'm trying to just maintain true honesty with you guys, and I don't know, you know, like, I don't think anybody's actually an expert in this stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I've been doing it a long time, and, you know, like, I do a lot of tips and trick stuff, but, you know, going out with nothing but a pot and what you can fit inside of it, and I guess a couple extra items, you know, it's not something that most people are, like, super good at. Now, granted, I mean, we're doing pretty good tonight, you know. I don't think we're failing by any means, but, you know, this is a good training trip for me. You know, it's funny, you see guys come out here and do this sort of stuff, and it's one thing to just go out and do it. I'll be honest, like, it's you know, it's nothing at all. But when you're out here trying to film it while you do it, it's a little different. Now, to set up like a shelter like this and then get all the spruce boughs, if I wasn't trying to film the process, you know, I'd probably knock 2 hours off my time tonight already. I still started late, but I'm also not very good at filming stuff. This is actually my very first, like, super long form video. I'm hoping this is over 20 minutes. I guess we'll see. Also, if anyone has any good recommendations for winter boots that have a removable liner, like a felt liner in them, and then also they're high boots, like they're not like the, I don't know what you call that, like the boots that only come up to like the ankle or like just above the ankle. Like I like a 6-inch kind of boot. That'd be great, because I think I'm going to retire these. My feet are literally soaked right now, and I am going to have to deal with that soon. Ugh. Man, I am getting pretty old to be out here trying to sleep on spruce boughs, I'll be honest. A little rough. I remember when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do was this. And then, you know, girls happen. So, like, from like 12 until, I don't know, 16, I was super interested in this stuff. And then, well, we took a couple of years off there and, and just focused on the fairer sex. But nowadays, you know, like I'm 32, I'm in a stable relationship. I don't know, man. Come out here with my dogs and just bushcraft. I get to hang out and have a shotgun and carry my knife and practice all these skills and feel like Jeremiah Johnson. I don't know, man. It's kind of fun. I've been doing this stuff for years and years now, but nights like this never really, they never really escape me. Like how awesome it is to be doing this rather than, you know, sitting at a bar or something like that, you know what I mean? Or playing video games. Now granted, I love bars and I love video games, but I like this a lot more. Alright guys, well I'm going to sit here for about 10 minutes or so and then I'm going to go back to chopping wood. Alright, so I was out getting firewood and the fire went out. Now, all the logs are that I was trying to have or cut in two or have, whatever you want to call it, they are halved. Now, at this point though, I don't want to use another fire starter to get the fire going. I kind of just want to rely on kind of natural methods, because in the middle of the night tonight, when this fire goes out, I want to be able to get up and grab a man-made fire starter, throw it in there, and then go back to bed. So we're just going to grab the pocket full of birch bark I got here and get this fire going. And I'll show what's up. So I'm just putting some sticks down so that none of this stuff actually gets even remotely wet. I'll take a little birch bark here and I'm just going to fluff this up. I got a whole pocket full, so I'm not too worried about being stingy on it. And I'll pop that there. And let's just light, there it goes, lights up. On top of that, we'll put some branches that are dead. Bada boom, bada bing. Now, I'm going to keep using this fire to kind of split wood down to smaller. The only reason why I'm actually doing this is I don't want the fire to spread too much to the south or too much to the north. Reason being is there's a lot of old man's beard on those tree blocks, and I know it's very unlikely to start a forest fire in the winter, but I'm a pretty conscious guy about these sort of things. I want to have localized 5-foot chunks so that when I go to bed, I throw 3 on, they burn up for 3-4 hours, I throw 3 more on, 3-4 hours, and then, you know, kind of get up. That's kind of the plan here. So anyways, I'm going to keep chopping wood. By the way, for an update, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I really wish I freaking started this earlier. But we're getting close to the point where we're going to do a cook. So here's the situation. The fire's going good. As you can see, there's probably some smoke coming up on the screen right now. You're kind of sitting right by the fire. And you know, that's good. And I almost have enough firewood to get through the night and finally cook my steak. But the real problem is my feet. These boots I've known for a while. They're not great. I thought I could limp it through, but it's not getting good. So what I think I'm gonna do, I'm gonna build a tripod. And I'm gonna suspend the boot liner and my sock over the fire. And what I hope that does is dry those out, and then I'll just barefoot inside the boot, and hopefully that works until I can actually get some dry liners and socks. But I don't know if that's the right answer or not. I mean, I don't know. What else do you do? There's no rocks out here. I can't rock dry my boots. There's really no options. My only options is like switch my boots out. So this is what we're at. And I do need to keep moving. I need to keep getting wood. And so yeah, I think that's my only option. All right, guys. Well, let's build another tripod up, and then we'll start drying some stuff out. Well, this tripod that's just for drying my boots, I really don't care if it's aesthetically pleasing. I don't care if it's straight or crooked or whatever. It just has to work. So I'm going to take it for a little walk, and we're going to find some stuff to make a tripod out of. So while we're out and about, I guess I'll show you. So there's our fire. There's our shelter. There's the start of our wood pile. I actually pulled that out because the dogs were getting cold. They sat on it. I'm not using it. The dogs are. Some more of our wood here. Some more of our wood here. It's just kind of all over the place. I'll organize a little bit better after, but let's get a tripod going. So I think if we come over here, I think if we just look, there's some straighter pieces here. Yeah, that guy right there will probably work. Back to my favorite thing, pocket chainsaws. Oh my God, I hate this thing. I can't wait for tomorrow to come so I don't have to pocket chainsaw anymore. Like how small this little piece is, how ridiculous it is that it keeps jamming up. Yeah, like, whatever. I'm past halfway. I can probably just break that guy down. Can I just grab this guy? Look at that. Some of these I can just literally reach over and pull out of the ground. I'm gonna try another one. The root even came out on that guy. That's kind of like a weird thing. Like when you're out in this part of the world in northern Alberta, some trees are literally held in by nothing. But ugly as this tripod's gonna be, it is gonna work. So let's go back to the fire and start drying these boots out, because I wouldn't say my feet are in critical condition, but it's time to address them for sure. So you might not be able to see me right now because of all the smoke. What you got to do in that situation is blame your cameraman, because I'm an awful cameraman. But I got these scraggly pieces here, and I think some of these are small enough that I can honestly just pick a length and snap them. But like I said, I'm not super worried about this tripod being structurally sound or anything like that. I just kind of want it to work. There we go. We got our 3 pieces here. Ooh. This guy ended up a fair bit longer. One second, I'll snap it again. Yeah, that guy's kind of green. One little habit I've kind of kept up is like, and I don't know if this is right or not, but well, I don't think there's actually such thing as right in the outdoors, like when you're starting to deal with, impromptu stuff like this. But I've always tried to save my better cordage for as the night goes on. Like earlier when we actually built the shelter, we used the those little guy lines, and we kind of saved this for the last. And I'm always happy whenever I do that. Like, I don't know if it's just like reassuring or whatever it is, but honest truth, man, just save your best cord for last. And honestly, with this, I'm literally just going to throw a clove hitch on this guy and a couple of safeties and call it good. It's literally going to hold up my boot liners and my socks, and that's it. So I could care less how structurally sound this guy is. So I got my backpack to put my feet on because, you know me, I am a bit of a princess. I don't want to put my feet on the bare, snowy ground. And I am going to get these boots off. Let's see how much water there actually is inside this boot, because this just feels ridiculous. Ugh. All right. So let's grab the sock, which is literally so wet it's stuck to my foot, which is always a good sign when you're back here doing a survival trip, that your sock is so wet it's stuck to your foot. Now, granted, I will say, if I was wearing cotton socks, this would be a lot different. I am actually wearing an alpaca wool sock right now. They're actually pretty legit, because look how much water's in here versus how cold my feet actually should be. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally leaking water. And, you know, I'm pretty sure this guy's the same. Yeah. Yeah, it's time to either treat the boots or get new ones, because this is, you know, I've been putting it off for a while, but that's, I'm not trying to be weird, but that's friggin' ridiculous. Wring those guys out. Get the barefoot back in the boot, because, you know, that's always comfy. Let's get the other leg going. You know what's funny? I have most of the top of the line gear right now. Like, so much stuff gets sent to me, especially because of, like I said, you're seeing this on YouTube, but on Instagram, I'm a lot bigger of an account than I am on YouTube. I get a lot of gear sent to me for reviews, but like, here I am with these boots, and it's just mud water coming out of these things. Let's try this sock. See how this guy looks. Yeah, like that's, hopefully you can see how much water is coming out of that. Pretty ridiculous. Anyways, barefoot, going back in this guy. And let's hang all this stuff up to dry. Fun fact, those are called hollow socks. And we got the socks kind of smoking right there, dangling. Boot liner 1, boot liner 2, just kind of chilling. You know, flip those every couple of seconds, make sure they don't get past medium rare, and we'll get going. So it's like 1:30 in the morning, which is brutal, because I'm not even fully done getting enough wood to sleep in this shelter without a sleeping bag tonight. Even though I'm, you know, I am gonna stick to my guns on that. But I am starting to get pretty dehydrated. You know, it turns out that Anheuser-Busch, whatever they sell, doesn't actually hydrate a guy. So let's get that pot out. Let's scoop up some snow water. Now, I'll show you my super secret snow water recipe. First off, get your knife out and get past that first layer, you know, because it's funny, all snow at one point was the top layer. So what I'm doing makes no difference at all, except for making me feel better. That right there, after it melts down, probably about 250 mils of water from a 1.1 liter pot. Snow does not make much water. Get that guy right in here. I thought about getting fancy and making a little cooking crane, but I honestly have so many more chores to do before I actually try and sleep outside without a sleeping bag that I just don't think it's gonna work tonight. I'm definitely laying in the shelter right now, and I noticed that my fire is too far away. The super shelter should get so hot that I'm literally sweating in here, and you can see my breath. So I'm gonna have to move my fire about 2 or 3 feet closer. But man, I am so tired. It's like 1:40 something in the morning, and I've just been go for like 12 hours now. It's a lot of work, you know? And it's fun fact, like before I ever started doing videos, I actually used to do this sort of stuff all the time. And then, you know, I'll just be honest, I just kind of got sidetracked, you know? Like, you know, I do mostly short form videos, and like, I started doing stuff on Instagram, and then, you know, you start getting like brand deals where like they reach out and they're like, hey, do you want to test our products? And we'll give you a couple dollars and whatever. And I kind of got sidetracked in that. And I noticed that like my growth, as far as like personal growth, as far as me as an outdoorsman, which is the most important thing is like being a better outdoorsman, it's kind of been stagnant because I'm not gonna lie, like you know, last little bit I haven't been really getting after it as much as I should. But I think we're in a season of change. Coming out here and doing this, man, this has just been a good night, you know, like things went wrong, and you know, let's type 2 fun. I mean, like I have no socks in my boots right now, and I can see my breath. You know, it's probably gonna be another hour and a half before I can even go to sleep. But you know, it's been good. Snow water, so good. I wonder why people don't do this more often. It's so tasty. I don't even care though. I'm thirsty. Yeah, I'm trying to drink it like I'm trying to just so I don't have to like drink all those needles, because I'm pretty sure tamarack needles, which is what those are, actually can get you sick. But I don't know. I'm thirsty. Yep. That's good. All right. So it's 2 in the morning. I moved the fire from the pit here a little closer to the actual shelter, because honestly, there's no reason why a super shelter shouldn't be literally sweltering hot. And guys, with that said, I think it's actually finally time to cook. I got pizza pops and steak, and I actually am excited for both. So I'm gonna go get a pole to cook the steak on, and we're gonna get after it. So first off, you start off with pizza pockets, not pizza pops, because we're people of culture. And we're just gonna get those kind of close to the fire, something a little like that. In this bag here, we have a ribeye, which is, let's be honest, one of God's greatest creations. And I wasn't able to find a whole lot of green stuff to skewer this guy with, but I'll be honest, this is gonna do just fine. And we're just gonna hold that over the fire. Now you're probably asking me, Ryan, this is a YouTube video. Why aren't you building a cooking crane? Why aren't you, you know, doing some sort of fancy cook? I'll tell you this. I'm almost out of paracord. This took way longer than I thought it would. And I just don't care anymore. I'm going to cook this like it's a marshmallow on the fire. And we're going to hope it turns out okay. We're not trying to get it well done, but we are trying to get some serious heat on this guy. Kind of think of like a pan sear, you know? High heat, but for a short intensity. Oh yeah, we're getting there. Man, look at that. That is a pretty legit crust. Let's take a little piece of this steak and see how she looks. I mean, Mm. 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 That's fucking delicious. If that's not perfect, nice rare steak. I don't know what it is. This is so good. All the gristly fat. Like look at that. It's literally dripping with juice. I'm gonna take the old pups and we're gonna go in the shelter if I can get them in there. And it's just time for bed. It's like 2:30 in the morning. So I'll give you an update throughout the night if I wake up, and if not, that's that. I'm curled up with the pups. We're calling it a night, I think. I got the emergency bivvy going. Leonard's not too sure what to think just yet about this, but guys, I think we're gonna call it a night here. I'll give you an update in the morning. Here's an update. It's so hot in here after I moved the fire that I honestly want to remove a layer, but I know eventually the fire's gonna go out. I'm gonna be cold, so I'm kind of just gonna suffer and try not to sweat too much, I guess. Well, that was a pretty not good sleep. I'm not gonna lie. I've had way better sleeps than that. That kind of actually sucked. This just turns into condensation, like these emergency blanket things. They're just condensation traps. It was nice though, because the puppies are out, but they did cuddle me, and that was good. Spruce bough bed. Thought I had enough. Didn't quite have enough. It wasn't dangerous or anything. I just wasn't super comfy. Also, it is like sleeping on a bunch of sticks, you know? All right, well, listen, I'm going to pack up this camp. I'm going to go back to the actual camping trip that I'm in the middle of, which is about a couple kilometers away. And then we're going to, we'll do a debrief of, like, lessons learned, I guess. All right. So we're back here at Static Camp. I immediately got back and had a little bit of a nap because turns out sleeping on a big pile of sticks is uncomfortable. What went good? What went bad? Good. I mean, one of the things I was most impressed with out there in that little kit was this little ferro rod by Uberleben, this Sunda. Super big fan of this guy. That worked great. I really wish in retrospect I would have shown you guys how hot that super shelter actually got. While the fire was going, it was like it must have been plus 20 in there. But by the time that the night was over, I literally was just exhausted. You know, we were cutting wood till 2 or 3 in the morning. I can't quite recall. And I just wanted to eat and go to bed. Now, what went wrong? What would I change? So what went wrong? The boots. That was the number one biggest problem. You know, it's funny, because they're waterproof boots. I do think I just need to get them treated. I'm not entirely too sure though. I might run some Nick Wax on them and see how they hold up, or it's just time to get new boots, because that was ridiculous. Now, granted, those socks, those hollow socks, those worked amazing, considering how wet my feet were, but not really how cold they are, right? Because like that's the thing about alpaca wool and merino wool socks is they can get super wet, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get super cold. So they definitely did their job there. Another thing I was not a big fan of was that pocket chainsaw. I wish I would have got a slightly longer or wider pot, because then I could have brought something like this, which would have done way more than that little pocket chainsaw can. And it's funny because even though it's a lot smaller, you can take down with a saw of this style, you can take down double its length, right? You saw from one side, you saw from the other side. So, you know, you could take down a tree if you had to, about this big around. But ultimately speaking, in a real situation like that, unless you have like a giant saw, you're not going to be taking down huge wood. So this guy right here would have been a preferred choice if my pot was a little bit bigger. The emergency sleeping bivvy. I mean, you can't put that on the same page as an actual sleeping bag, because it just isn't. There's no insulation in it. It's just reflective material. And all it did was turn into a giant condensation disaster inside there. Like, I was literally wet going to bed. It's actually probably, I don't want to say more dangerous sleeping with it than not, but the moisture in there was actually insane. I wish you know, I wasn't exhausted this morning when I got up, because I would have showed you, like, cut the thing open and then grabbed, like, I don't know, I guess I didn't have a cloth or anything, but showed you, like, how much moisture was actually in there. You know, I was definitely damp. And if it was severe cold, that could be pretty serious. Anyways, guys, if you could just comment on this video, share it with somebody. You know, I want to do more of these long form trips, but if there's no interest, I obviously can't keep doing it. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you so much. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the woods.